On Wednesday, the president of Niger, Mr. Mohamed Bazoum, was dethroned by the military wing in that country. And several nations in Africa continue to condemn the action. And one of the presidents who weighed in this discussion is the president of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto. William released a statement condemning this act that he calls an exercise that goes against the will of the people and that is only meant to subvert democracy. If you have not listened to the voice of President William Ruto, kindly listen to it because it's going to form the basis of this discussion.
On Wednesday, Africa suffered a serious setback in its democratic gains as the aspirations of the people of Niger for constitutional democracy were subverted by an unconstitutional change of government that deposed Mohamed Bazoum, a democratically elected president. The Republic of Kenya joins the rest of the world to condemn in the strongest terms this unconstitutional act that subverts democracy through a coup d'etat and calls for the immediate release of President Mohamed Bazoum, who is reportedly seized by members of the Presidential Guard. Throughout our continent's history, we have strived tirelessly to nurture the principles of democracy, aligning ourselves with the aspirations of the African people for freedom and self-determination. This fundamental norm is crystallized in Article 4P of the Constitutive Act of the African Union, which unequivocally condemns and rejects any unconstitutional change of government. The government and the people of Kenya earnestly urge all parties involved to refrain from further escalation that might jeopardize the lives and livelihoods of the people of Niger. We call for the swift restoration of constitutional rule, ensuring the protection of the population and a return to full civilian authority while upholding utmost respect for the country's institutions. In this moment of strife, we implore all parties to engage in constructive discourse to restore peace in this fraternal nation, which has steadfastly stood as a bulwark against terrorism and its agents in the Sahel region. The resurgence of military coups and attempts to subvert the will of the people on our beloved continent demands a united and global response to hold those responsible accountable for their actions. Let us stand together as one to reaffirm our commitment to democracy, liberty, and the progress we have achieved. We must remain vigilant, guarding against any slide back into dark days that threaten the hard-fought gains in democracy. Kenya is willing to assist in resolving the conflict under the auspices of the African Union, should it be deemed appropriate. Africa shall continue to shine as a beacon of hope and progress, and we shall never waver in our pursuit of a brighter future for all. May peace and prosperity prevail across our great continent and beyond. Thank you, and God bless Africa.
I don't know exactly what happened in Niger, and I don't know what led to the military coup, because from what I understand, the very people who are supposed to protect him are the people who have turned against him. And as I always tell you, when a crocodile tells you that the hippopotamus is sick, you better believe it, because they both live in water. I mean, if the very people who are charged with the responsibility of protecting you turn against you, there must be something. And I don't want to, talk so much about Niger because I don't know what happened. But I want to engage the president, because there are few questions, serious questions, that people continue to ask the president of Kenya. Because when you listen to him, he talks about subversion of the will of the people and democracy. Now, one funny thing about what is happening in the Niger is that it is very synonymous with what is happening in Kenya. We are only lucky that we don't have a military coup. And the first question that people are asking the president of Kenya, when he speaks about subversion of the will of the people, well, here in Kenya, leaders and several citizens continue to urge him to allow scrutiny of the server, a discussion that is hot potato and he does not want to engage in. You see, as we speak today, we don't know who won the August 22 elections in Kenya. We understand that according to the constitution, we have figures and numbers that we were given by the body that is mandated to manage our elections. But there are several loopholes, because even if you look at what is happening today, the president has lost touch with the people. Raila Amolo Odinga says he won by 8 million against Ruto's 5 million. And so, would we urge the president to allow opening and scrutiny of the server in Kenya so that we know who really won the elections before we extend this olive branch in Niger to accept and stop subverting the will of the people? Because ask anybody and they will tell you, we don't know who won the elections. William Ruto's side believes the elections were won fair and square. Raila says his victory was taken away by a combination of foreign masters, the US and the UK, in a combination with the Supreme Court and the IEBC. The other question that one would want to ask, the president of Kenya is saying that the two parties must not engage in any exercise that will endanger and jeopardize the lives of the citizens of Niger. And is really very protective, talks as if he really cares about the lives and the affairs of the citizens of that country. Yet, as we speak today, about a few days ago, the police, under the command of this regime, killed several citizens who were on the street. Their only mistake was to ask the president to lower the cost of living. Their only mistake, their only crime, was to lament and present their petition that was thwarted during the process of public participation against the unpopular Finance Bill 2023. And the police was out there maiming people, killing people, and they really, several are wallowing in pain in the hospitals. In fact, as we speak today, the opposition, under the leadership of Raila Odinga, the former president Uhuru Kenyatta, Martha Karua, name them, held a requiem mass in solidarity with the people who are victims of police brutality. So when he speaks about and urging the warring parties to ensure that there is peace and tranquility, that they don't jeopardize the lives of the people of Niger, this is hypocrisy, if you ask me, because charity must always begin at home. There is no way you can pretend that you care about other people, yet you kill your own citizens. He talks about the warring parties engaging in a kind of dialogue so that they can have a truce. Yet back at home, the people who are around him have always said that they don't want to engage in any kind of talk with the opposition leader because they are so much obsessed about keeping and maintaining power power really corrupts. He is not ready to talk with the person whom the person who is his very arch rival, political rival. Yet is urging others to speak. And again, I say that I have a feeling that our president is only speaking to manifest himself as a Pan-Africanist. You've seen him of recent talking about, using our currency, and he wants to abandon the dollar and all this. He's only speaking for the sake. He's telling them to engage in a constructive dialogue. What kind of constructive dialogue that he cannot demonstrate back at home? I wish someone could look at our president in the face and ask him to practice what he preaches, because we can't just have talks that are not coupled with actions. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in as much as we really want to call for peace in that country, we urge other African nations, before they condemn, before they urge, before they talk of peace, let all African presidents and leaders ensure that there is peace back at their native countries. Because I've realized that many a times, what really catapults these attempts of military coup is that the powers that be are so much drunk with power that they don't want to listen to the people. They don't want to listen to the people who gave them the mandate to rule. Last but not least, just the other day, when the president tried to self-impose himself as an arbiter in the warring country of Sudan, he was rejected because one wing of the military had lamented that William Ruto had already taken sides. Courtesy of that act, for the better part of this week, government systems were stalled, and a group from Sudan was claiming the bragging right that they stalled our system. The banks, the e-citizen, the KRA, and all this. So when we see the president trying to, because he was saying that Kenya is ready to help, and I believe he is speaking with authority as the president of Kenya under the leadership of IGAD or African Union or something. We want to request or believe that this will not result in any kind of a disadvantage like the one that we witnessed just recently. And so we want to call upon our president to ensure that he practices what he preaches. We want to call upon the president to ensure that he engages in constructive dialogue with his opponent before he extends that olive branch to the other nations. We want to ask him to protect his people who are dying on the streets. And we want to ask him to ensure that he understands the true meaning of democracy, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what your take is, but I think these are serious questions that the administration must look at. And that is my take.